Hello, hello, hello. What ho? Welcome back to another exciting adventure of the Ubercast on TikTok. I just haven't changed all my accounts. Listen, you're here for me. You're not here because I got all my ducks in a row, okay? I am not going to bend over backwards to make TikTok videos the way TikTok videos are supposed to be made, because that's not how I roll. So I'm a rule breaker, right? I'm a trendsetter. I gave a speech in high school once in speech class. And in speech class, we learned all of the proper etiquette, all of the proper posture, all of the proper blah, blah, blah. Whenever you're giving a speech, you're supposed to be standing straight up and down. You're not supposed to be leaning on. You're not supposed to, all those things, right? And yet in high school, I was most influenced by my first influencer, which would be David Deutsch, okay, hold on. Shh, stop it. Be real still. So, I got to figure out how to make my gimbal work with the portrait layout of the camera, because otherwise I've got it set up for landscape. And if I really was a trendsetter, if I really were a rule breaker, I wouldn't give a smurf if TikTok has portrait instead of landscape. I'd do landscape, darn it. Smurf it all. Anyway, so I was most influenced by my youth pastor in high school. And he didn't give a smurf. Like, he was leaning against the lectern. He'd be leaning against it. He'd be doing everything. He broke all the rules of a speech giver. But I was glued to everything that he had to say. Why? Because he was my influencer. Right? I wanted to know what he had to say. I wanted to know what he had to think. I wanted to know what he had to believe. I wanted to understand what he understood. So, that's what I did in my speech. I gave my speech in college. I'm sorry, it was in college. And I broke all the rules the instructor said not to break. And my point was, if you're there to listen to the sultry sound of my voice, it doesn't matter what I'm doing up on stage. I could be lying down. You could be like, what's he doing lying down? Why is he lying down? Like all of the Karens and all the Richards out there would be like, I'm not listening to this guy. This guy doesn't know how to give. Didn't this guy ever take communications in college? They tell you how to. Look, you go to hear your influencer, whether he's a comedian, whether he's a astrophysicist, whatever. You go because you have respect for who he is and what he has to say, who she is, what she has to say. You're not worried about whether or not she's standing with the correct posture, or whether or not he's leaning up against the lectern and breaking all the rules. And so you're going to... Anyway, my point is that influencers influence. They grow where they're planted. And then sometimes they uproot themselves and go somewhere else and plant themselves again and just leave little traces of themselves all over the planet. Yeah, how about that one? Ooh, I'll get called out for that one. That was a big faux pas. We don't live on a planet. Even as I was going to say it, even as I was like in my head going, I was like, why are you saying planet, bro? We do not live on a planet. We don't live on a planet. So, all of that to say, I failed that speech in college. And he was like, you broke all the rules. And I was like, you didn't get my speech, did you? Were you even paying attention to my speech? I don't think so. You're a Richard. Thanks so much for tuning in to another exciting adventure of Piensas de Viejo. That is the thoughts of an old man, right? That's another aspect. That's another influencer channel that I created. But I should all just keep it all on one channel. But here I am over on TikTok instead of over on YouTube, which is where I have most of my following. Go to hashtag the Ubercast, U with 2 umlauts. It's actually in the description right here. If you go to this TikTok video, the Ubercast is hashtagged in this video right now. So that's all you got to do. find me on YouTube, start following me there, because that's where I put out daily content, and that daily content is going to come out later on as individual seasons and episodes in the Ubacast, which is the smurfiest cast in all the land. Why is it so smurfy? I'll tell you why. Because it is the podcast that's about nothing and everything all at once. Boom. I'm Travis Finley, and you're not.